Hey guys, let's talk about last night's episode of Homeland. Is it getting better? Yes. Are they getting back on track? Yes. Are there still areas that the show needs some improvement on? Yes. So let's get right to it. So we basically had the big interrogation scene between Saul and Javadi. And we know from last week's episode, Javadi is not a very nice guy. And basically, Saul and Javadi used to be, they used to work together in a way, and he was one of Saul's assets. And then he turned on Saul and he started doing all this stuff in Iran. And he was basically embezzling money. And so now Saul feels that he can use this information against Javadi and basically turn him against his own people. And so he says, "You're now going to be my asset again. And I'm going to send you back to Iran, and you're going to go back and you're basically going to work for me, and you're going to give me information." And Javadi is not trying to have any of that. He says, "No, I don't want to do that." And basically Saul's like, "I don't think you have an opinion here, because you don't." So after a lot of talking and back and forth between the two of them, and I must say that Javadi is very calm in this room, and he asks some very important questions, which are, what makes you think that I'm actually going to do what you say, and what makes you think that I'm going to be loyal to you? And Saul is basically just like, "Listen, I will sell you down the river to your own government, and you will basically die a miserable death back there." So it's kind of like, do I stay here and get killed, or do I go there? But at the end of the day, Javadi decides, okay, fine, he's going to go back. And right before he leaves, Saul locks him into this little hallway, and he asks him point blank, who was responsible for putting the bomb in the car when it blew up at the CIA headquarters? And he wants a definitive answer. Was it Brody, yes or no? And Javadi's like, "Well, you're the one who said it was Brody. You're the one who sold him out to the Senate committee and everything." And he's like, "Tell me now, who was it?" And he basically says it wasn't Brody. I mean, we've already been down this road, and we're assuming that it wasn't Brody from a long time ago. So when we hear this again, it's sort of like, can we just stop talking about Brody already? So Saul finally decides, okay, fine, you and Carrie are going to be heading out of town. She's going to take you to the airport, and you're going to get out of here and go back to Iran. Here's the funny thing for me. First of all, Javadi came into America through Canada, and then he's now getting on some private plane to head back to Iran. It's like, hello, is this man not on the watch list? Can we get some better security at the borders, people? So anyway, in the car ride, as Carrie is going with Javadi to this private airstrip, he's all, sly and manipulative. And he's basically saying to her, Saul isn't really who you think he is. And of course, Saul is the one who came up with this plan to have you basically act like you were crazy all over again. And Saul doesn't believe that Brody really wasn't involved, because he asked me, and why would he ask me if he doesn't believe that Brody had something to do with it still? So of course, Carrie's like, "Listen, I'm not going to listen to you. I don't care what you have to say." And she basically tries to block him out, because he's just trying to say, "Don't you want to know? Don't you want to know?" And then he alludes to the fact that obviously Brody had to hand his keys off to somebody. And who was that somebody? So then Javadi basically says that it was somebody in Abu Nazir's organization. So of course Carrie is still questioning, wondering whether or not he's being truthful. And, she's basically like, "I don't believe anything you have to say anyway." So right before he gets on the plane, of course, Carrie runs up to him and she's like, "I need to know the truth." And so he basically says that the lawyer who had the conversation to bring the two of them together back when Javadi assumed that Carrie was turning on the CIA, that he has something to do with it. So once again, if these last few episodes are going to be about let's prove Brody's innocence, I don't know how much I really want to sign up for that, because Brody has now been in one episode out of 7. 1 out of 7. I really do feel like if they had killed him off in the second season, we would have been fine. But, this whole he's still alive, and now he's potentially Carrie's baby daddy. Oh, gosh, I don't know. So at the end, Quinn, who basically has spent the whole episode going back to the scene of the crime where the 2 double murders happened last episode, and has to talk to the detectives and basically convince them that he is the one who killed these 2 people, but it's national security as to why he did it, and he can't tell them anything more than that. And it's a really interesting scene, because it shows again, it puts into question the CIA and what they're really all about, and the things that they're doing, are they really protecting the country as a whole? And so, Quinn basically says, yes, I'm the one who killed these two people, but I can't tell you why. And of course he's lying because he didn't do it. It was Javadi. And then, the detective basically says, like, what is it that you guys are really doing? Who are you really protecting? And it's a really great scene. And Quinn, who, I don't know, right? This season, they've done something really weird with his character, because last season he was like this ruthless killer. He didn't have any like scruples at all. Like, he would go toe to toe with Carrie. And now they're kind of turning him into this softy. And, he's having moments where he, was reflecting back. I mean, obviously he killed a child in like the first episode or the second episode. And that wasn't really something that is gonna sit well with you. But now he seems like to be having all these feelings, and like even when Carrie was going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and he didn't know about it, he was like starting to feel like an attachment to her. So I don't know, they're kind of making him a little bit soft. I don't know if I like that. And at the end of the episode, he says to Carrie, like, I don't think I want to be in this business anymore. I don't think I believe in what the CIA stands for anymore. So she's like, listen, you can't quit on me now because I just found out something from Javadi and I need you to help me clear Brody's name. So here we go now. Quinn, of course, is going to do whatever he can to help out Carrie. And, what is this going to mean? Only time will tell. And then we get scenes of Senator Lockhart, who at this point they've made into like this villain, and he's kind of a caricature. Like, he's not really, obviously he's opposing everything that Saul is trying to do. And he's been in the dark, as same with Dara Dal. They have not been in the know as to this whole backstory, this whole, plan that Saul and Carrie concocted. And they just now find out. And why do they find out? Because Quinn was snapped at the crime scene. So obviously they know that Quinn was there, and they know that this is the ex-wife of Javadi who was murdered. And so now they want to know what the heck is going on. So Saul basically tells them everything that's going on. And of course, Lockhart is like, what are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? You're ridiculous, And then he finds out that Javadi's actually in the country. Then he wants to call the president and like get him like grounded. He needs so that he can't leave the country. And, he's just basically like, they're making him into this villain where obviously the things that Saul is doing will probably lead to some sort of a victory. But at this point, he's just the opposition for Saul. And Saul's basically proving that his old school way of thinking is much better than what he's trying to do. And in 10 days, when he takes over office, he's going to change everything that Saul has been doing. So, it's just kind of like, okay, let's get another note on this character, because he's basically the same every single time. And there's this really funny scene where he basically threatens to call the police, and Saul's like, all right, let's go. And he basically locks him in this conference room, turns out the lights, and makes a joke to the secretary saying, oh yeah, somehow Senator Lockhart found himself locked in the conference room. Can you get a hold of facilities and get him out? So it's like, they're making him just look like an idiot, and like he has no idea what the heck is going on. And once he's finally in office, he's just going to try to derail everything that Saul has put into motion. So, there were some definitely interesting scenes. Carrie, obviously right now she's pregnant and she has a bit of a case of the morning sickness, and it's kind of like, ugh, can we please not remind us that this is happening? I don't know how I feel about this pregnancy storyline. I don't know why it needs to happen at this point. Carrie is the best when she's in the field, when she's gritty, when she's down and dirty, when she's willing to take a punch to the gut for the greater cause of her nation. Do we really want to see this woman breastfeeding? Do we really want to see her going through the struggles of motherhood at this point? I mean, I know we can do it all, but I just don't think that this is a storyline that needs to be put into the third season of Homeland. You know what I mean? So wasn't really pleased to hear about that last week, and now it looks like they're going to continue with this nonsense, and I don't think I'm very pleased about it. On a good note, we did not have any interactions with Dana this week, which made me very happy. But, we did get to see Saul's wife. I believe her name is Mira. And, last week she was having 2 weeks ago, she was having an innocent dinner with this Frenchman that she worked with. And in this episode, she was in bed with him. So poor Saul, we're definitely seeing the toll that all this work has taken on these people. You know what I mean? Saul has a very broken home. Carrie is just, she's wackadoodle. She's taking 50 pregnancy tests to prove that she's not pregnant at this point. Quinn is like having emotional breakdowns. He doesn't think he can deal with this anymore. So, it's very interesting to see that the toll that all this is taking on everybody. And that is pretty much like what this business will do to you. The only thing that I really had an issue with too was when Carrie went to the crime scene. We spent all this time since she left the crazy place hiding, and people weren't really supposed to know that she was out and about, that she was still working for the CIA in any way, and she was supposed to be on the DL because Javadi's people were watching her. So I'm not sure, and if I'm, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm still sure that Javadi's people think that Carrie is going to be a turned asset and that she's going to be working for Javadi. So, for her to be like walking to this crime scene out in the open and like standing around, I was confused because aren't we still supposed to be pretending like she is no longer with the CIA and that she has nothing to do with any kind of law enforcement people to keep up this disguise? So, I don't know. I was kind of like, this doesn't seem right. But please, if you're watching this review and I'm wrong, please let me know. But all in all, it was a good episode. Like I said, they're getting back on track with many things, but there's still some room for improvement, definitely. And if we're gonna spend the next 6 episodes in defense of Brody, I don't know, guys. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see what happens nonetheless. All right, guys, this has been my review, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next week. Bye.